All right, here we are. Sit up. Welcome to the podcast tonight. We're super, super excited. I guess I didn't mess up the tech. I'm Donna Allward. It's my first time hosting one of our off-the-shelf segments, so I'm really proud of myself. I'm here with Barb Wallace, who is also with our Step Into the Story off-the-shelf crew, and we have a special guest, Sarah Phalen. Hi,
Hello.
Sarah.
Hi.
And we're sad that Renee couldn't make it tonight. She's got a lot going on. So we miss you, Renee. I know she's going to catch the broadcast later. We generally start out with introducing ourselves a little bit and what's going on. So I'm Donna Allward, as I said. I am one of the Step in the Story cohorts. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I am currently, I've published how many, Barb? I think Renee said 854 last. A whole bunch of novels, a whole bunch of romance novels, but I'm making the pivot into historical fiction. And so I've been actually elbow deep in that this week, which has been really, really great. And I'll pass it over to Barb.
I'm Barb Wallace. I am not a New York Times bestseller. That sounds, but I've written 25 mystery and romance novels. I'm knee deep now in a denser book about the 1960s and the Silver Factory.
Right, and more book club fiction,
more
right?
Book club fiction.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and we have Sarah Phalen is our special guest. And I met Sarah when you mentioned one of my romance novels on your vlog. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, thank you. and then I was a guest on the Categorically Romance podcast. And I remember when we were talking, I said something about working on a historical fiction, and your face lit right up. And I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to have her on as a guest. I knew I'd love to have you here. And as a bonus, you're Canadian, which makes me extremely happy. So thanks for coming. And why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah. So my name's Sarah. As you said, I'm Canadian from Toronto. I am co-host of the Categorically Romance podcast, which is all over the podcast sphere. But my true love, if you will, is my BookTube channel, which is a YouTube channel that I talk about books. The Bookish Knitter, which is where you can find me. And I've been doing that for about 6 years. I primarily talk about romance novels because that's what I really love. But I also love historical fiction, cozy mysteries, thrillers. I talk about all the things. So I just love to read anything that I can get my hands on.
How did you get started in vlogging, though?
How did I get started there? Yeah, so nice. I actually started on YouTube more than a decade ago because I used to do a podcast on YouTube, The Canadian Knitter, where I talked all about my knitting and my crafting. And then I, kind of fell to the wayside. And then, so I've been doing this for a long, long time.
Wow. So you were one of the early YouTubers.
Yeah, I don't have anyone in my life personally to share either my crafting or my reading with. So this was a great way to branch out into the community.
You can always share with us too.
Okay. Yeah. Anytime. It's kind of funny that you were like the Canadian Knitter because when I was, before I was published and I was on the eHarlequin boards when they actually had message like boards, community boards, I was known as Canadian Cook. Because I was always putting on what I was making for dinner and that name stuck. And there's some people that still know me as Canadian Cook. And that's been like 15, 20 years ago. Now.
Awesome.
So Canadian Cook, Canadian Knitter.
Yeah.
I'll just sit over here with the North Americans. I'm good.
There you go.
Well, that's all right. You should be sitting in the ready corner with that shirt on.
I wore out to know. I'm wearing my Bruin shirt just to tick Donna off.
It's all right. It's all right. You wait. It's going to be all Leafs all the time when we're in Florida.
We're due.
That's it. Oh, my God. So due.
It's only been 50 years. Right?
I know. Last year was so close. Anyway, we need to buckle up for a really good discussion because this was a very different book, I think, from what I've read recently. And it's our habit here at Off the Shelf that when we invite an influencer to come on the show, we let them pick the book. So Sarah picked The Exiles by Christina Baker Kline. And just, thanks, Barb. Yeah. And just for a quick little overview, it's the story of three women. It's set around 1840. Two were convicted of crimes in England and exiled to Australia. The third is an Aboriginal Australian and based on a real person. So that's sort of the setup for the novel. Before we start dissecting things, though, what made you pick this book, Sarah?
I have a love of Australia. It's one of those words that when I hear it, I want to read the book. And another booktuber that I watch named Krista, she mentioned this book. She's big into historical fiction as well. And I was like, oh, that sounds so interesting. The idea of transport for a crime just, fascinates me. And I had this on my list. And then you brought up to me to be on the show. And I thought, oh my gosh, immediately I had 20 World War II historical fiction books in my head. And I thought, I just want something different. So I remembered this one, and that's why I picked it, because it was not World War II.
Yeah, and I was actually really happy that you did that because, I read a lot of World War II, and it's always nice to shift gears and read something a little different, something I don't know much about. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so. She was too. She's an author that has gotten a lot of buzz with The Orphan Train, and I've heard a lot of things about that. So I was kind of interested in reading it anyway. So I'm kind of glad you suggested it because it bumped it up higher on my list too.
Okay. Yeah. Barb, I think you had a question for Sarah.
I'm in the hot seat.
No, we were talking about this earlier. It was a very unflinching look at colonialism. That's the first thing I think I told you, Donna, when she said, haven't read it yet. And I said, oh, it's colonialism at its finest.
Yes, you did say that.
How much did you know of, and I knew that everyone knows Australia was founded by convicts. Yeah. But I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, how much did you know about the history going in? And, I was going to say, interestingly, I think that it's possible that the other people were based on real people as well. I meant to do the research and I got caught up with something in the kitchen.
Yeah. I did not know a lot about it other than, like you said, knowing the fact that, Australia was founded by convicts. And that knowledge came from watching The Simpsons when I was younger. And then, of course, history, right? When you take history class. Mm-hmm. No, it's not anything that we studied. Even as a colony, if you will, of the UK, of, England, Canada, we didn't learn a lot about that. I knew it was a thing, but we didn't delve into the history.
No, we didn't.
And I guess in my head, I thought that they shipped them over and that was it. I didn't realize they went to prison.
Right. I didn't realize that either.
And then they got out for the day and they had to go back. And it's like, I thought they just got shipped over there like they did in Georgia. They shipped the people over.
Yeah.
Right. So that was new to me and very surprising. Like, you get to take a ship to go in prison.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Yeah, I think that was I think what surprised me too is that I thought that they were shipped over there and like their punishment was exile, not that they were exiled and then imprisoned in these horrible conditions.
Horrible conditions.
That and for 7 years, 14 years, whatever the sentence is, for things that were just minor infraction. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah. The trip over would have been punishment enough.
Oh, no kidding.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. So when we start talking about a book, we like to go from the outside in. So I'm going to reach back here. All right. So, we all have, is yours hardback?
Mine's hardback from the library, yeah.
Your library.
It actually, I think, started as a hardback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw it shiny and then I saw the little library thing at the top. Yeah. So what did you all think of the cover? Whoever wants to go first.
Let Sarah go first. She's the guest.
Mine's a little different than yours, if I can do it without the glare. Because mine does not have
it is.
And I love it. I want to get, I just think it, It's stunning. And
Can you
to me,
show us the bottom better? Can
Sure.
you like put it right up in the?
There you go.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
got the
I like that
glow.
color
All
better
you're
than I
seeing
like
the
the
ship.
paperback.
And
Yeah.
to me, if you like hold it like, you know, without the glare, it just, you can feel the desolateness
Yeah.
of just this little ship, you know, floating away. And I think the cover is extremely effective.
The colors
This-
are excellent.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
beautiful colors.
Yeah. So I really, really like it. I really do. I want to get a copy in hardback for myself.
I'm not a fan of the cover. I will. Well, I will confess that I agree that the colors are really good because this is not a light read.
No.
Right. So, so I think having the muted blues and sort of browns and I think that works well. But on the paperback, it's, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a woman standing sort of on the edge of a grassy sort of ledge. And to me, that says absolutely nothing about Australia. So, I mean, at least the hardback has what you would consider the prison ship.
Exactly.
But this really didn't, I don't know, it didn't speak to me a whole lot. If
I will agree with you that you don't know what it's about until you read have to read
right. And the Exiles could be about, I mean, it's not isolated to Australia. You know what I mean? So the Exiles title could actually mean a number of things. So for me, it didn't give me immediate context. So I'm meh on the cover.
I think this is a case where they expected it to sell based on the author's name. Because the Orphan Train was such a huge hit. And you see Christina Baker Kline. I think that, because you notice how big her name is on the cover.
Yeah.
And I think that they were banking on this being the draw as much as anything. Like people not saying, oh, I don't know what the book's about, but buying her because they love her.
You know what? I think the mood of the cover is fine. It just doesn't give any context for the story. So that's my only thing about the cover. So, yeah.
We all had this. We talked about it this weekend. I'm going to let you go first, Sarah, because we all had very differing opinions, and I'm kind of bummed out Renee's not here because she had the strongest opinions.
Oh, really? Really?
And she even said when she said she couldn't make it tonight, and she said, "I'm really bummed out because I have a lot of thoughts."
Yeah.
So hopefully she'll share them in the community but we'd love to hear what you thought because we all had different reactions.
Yeah.
In all reality.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I mean, the history nerd in me really liked it for that aspect, that I just felt like I was learning a lot that I didn't already know. And for me, the mark of a really great historical fiction is making me like, I'm reading the book and I'm like, hold on. And I put the book down and now I'm Googling stuff. That to me is like a big mark. And I found myself doing that at times. Again, we're not going to get into any kind of spoilers. There was something that happened that really ticked me off.
Oh, yeah, it's 172.
Yeah. But
yeah, we're going to get to that.
Overall, my overall impressions were that I did really enjoy it. Now, I've never read this author before, and now I do want to go and read her other stuff because I did think it was well written.
I would agree. Her writing is astounding.
Yeah.
And I was kind of middle of the road.
Okay.
I liked it. I didn't dislike it. I really liked it up until page 172. And
we're going to get to that.
She made an author's choice, which Donna will say was bold. And I agree. And I think it worked because she's a very skilled author. And
yeah, I think in lesser hands that wouldn't have gone.
Right. I think if someone not as talented as this woman was.
Excuse me for just a minute. I got someone bothering me.
Oh, I have one banging on the door too. Yeah.
So he had his feet on my leg.
But I liked it. I'm not sure I would rush out and buy another book from her.
Okay.
Because it was very heavy. And I tend to, if I'm looking for a read, I'll probably go to something that's more lighter, or actually more of the 20th century. I probably would go for more too.
Fair enough.
But I certainly would think she's one of the most brilliant writers I've read in a long time. And I see why she was a bestseller, and I can see why people gushed over her. Yeah. Absolutely.
I tend to agree with Sarah in that I also ultimately kind of loved it. And as Barb said, there are some things that interesting choices that the author made. And I'm not sure as a writer that's the route I would have taken. But I think ultimately it came down to the fact that if, despite having those things, I can put my reservations aside and still get swept away in the story, that says a lot about the author and the author voice. And so that, yeah, I haven't read her before either, Sarah. So I would like to go back and get the Orphan Train.
Oh, yeah.
And see how it compares. I think I would definitely do that again. And so here we go with page 172. I don't know if it's the same page or hardback.
Is it this? I don't know if it is, but I'm sure we all know exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, and it's really hard to do this without giving spoilers, but we really can't, because it's a huge turning point in the book. And I think we can all agree that, it really throws us. And I remember when it happened, I knew Barb Renee had finished it. Barb was almost done. And I messaged and I'm like, what? Did that actually really just happen? Like, what?
We're like, yep.
and so my question is, and I think I know how each of us is going to answer this because we kind of already touched on it a bit, but did the author kind of lose you at this point?
She did for a bit. And it took me a little bit to, I did the what. I was driving to work and I was listening to it on audio and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like rewinding, like, you know what I mean? Did
that reaction.
I go back?
I know. And I kept waiting for Dr. Dunn to.
Yes.
And
something. Yes.
And
yes. So it took me a little, and you know what? I think it worked. Like for me, I had just arrived at the office. I kind of turned the audio off. I went to work. And when I got back in the car after work, I was able to reset my brain and be like, okay, so this is what happened. I was able to take it in. I had to step away from the book for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just as an aside, I think again, I'm kind of gushing over this woman's writing, even though I did like the book. I don't want to say I didn't. It was a good book. But that she took criminals who weren't necessarily, my husband has COVID, so he just popped in and said he was leaving, going to bed. She took women who were convicts. They were all, with the exception of the protagonist. There's some of these women were unrepentant in their crimes. And she made them all very likable and sympathetic. Even the ones that were unrepentant. Mm-hmm. And that's a skill.
They were characters. Like
when
you look at Olive, Olive
I loved her.
Oh my gosh.
Olive was really rough around the edges.
Yep.
But my cats are like just something tonight. She was really rough around the edges, but you couldn't help but like her.
Her character development was great.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you do really root for these women.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to say that because it's hard to do. I've read, it's hard to make them sympathetic without going overboard and being too much too.
Right. And trying to overcompensate because of the, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also agree with Sarah again on this one where she did lose me for a while because I was still in the what kind of thing. And then so it took me probably another 20 or 30 pages after that turning point before I kind of got sucked back in again. But I did get sucked back in again.
Yeah.
So I think structurally, I'm not sure I would have done it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. Like it's not my story. So she didn't lose. She lost me for a little bit, but then I was okay.
I think the losing aspect for me that I had to think about was for, like you said, those 20 or 30 pages, I kept waiting for something to happen.
Yep.
Like it didn't happen. Does that make sense? Like it does. And I think that's what took me out of the story was like, this can't be this, you know what I mean? And I think that's and then when I came to the realization that it happened, it's not changing. Let's continue.
Yeah. It was kind of that, and then what moment. Yeah. And then, but there wasn't, and then what? It just was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a very bold choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not one I would have made, but I mean, it's just not one I would have made, but she did it, and
she
did it well.
Barb.
Yeah.
I don't have my Facebook window open.
Oh.
Would you like to check to see if we have any comments?
I was looking, actually. Let's see if we have comments. We do. Sue Slade says hello.
Sue is always
and she'd
here.
like everyone to know that there's a young readers edition called The Orphan Train Girl.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Interesting.
Hello, Sue. We love Sue.
Now I'm going to ask Sue, is it at your store?
Sue has a bookstore in Canada. We like Sue. She's lovely. She's spicy.
She's local to me. She has a local locally authored book club every month as well.
Yes, it is at her store.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Oh. And now she's going to say, do you want me to put it under the counter for you?
Yeah.
We have our own little sidebar here.
Taking care of Donna's business, yeah.
Yeah.
This while I shop.
Right? Yeah. Another plot point I wanted to bring up as something that stood out for me is how Olive and Dr. Dunn conspired to get, and this is slightly spoilery, but not really, conspired to get Ruby out of the orphanage and then hire Hazel. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just felt a little heavy-handed. Like he kind of circumvented things by having a fake name. And then it was like all the moving parts. It felt like she was pulling a lot of plot strings to make things line up the way she needed them to line up for the ending. Mm-hmm. And did anyone else feel that way? Because that one section kind of made me go,
yeah.
Because he was Dr. Dunn, and then when he went to the orphanage, he was Dr. Frum. But I kept wondering where the paperwork was and how that all. And then when he went to hire, anyway, I found it a little bit clunky.
Yeah, like if you think about it, if you're a person and you're hiring a convict for something, you'd think you got to give more than just I'm Bob Smith, and I want to take this person. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd think there'd be a little bit more than that.
Apparently, they were very loose in Australia.
Yeah, clearly, don't care.
You want her, you can have her.
Yeah, just bring her back at midnight.
Yeah, yeah. So
and see, that didn't bother me too much. Sue she's now following you.
Oh, thank you.
It didn't bother me. I actually thought the climax was a little more contrived. I didn't think really this guy was. That felt a little bit heavy-handed to me. And I know why she did it, and it made sense. But that was the part that was weakest to me. I didn't mind the whole part where they contrived to get the baby because they all love the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do without spoiling it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it is worth reading. We recommend that people read it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, I did look. It mentions in her notes that Mathenia, I think I pronounced it right, Mathena's story is true.
Okay.
And I looked it up, and there really was an Aboriginal girl who was raised in Australia by a white family. The thing that and apparently what the author said was she originally was not intended to be in the book. Originally, it was just going to be about the convicts. And then she read the story and felt that the story had to be told about colonialism and what they did. And it is an important thing to know, but for some reason that storyline felt like it was shoved in. Did you think the same thing? Or, I mean, I really would have loved the whole book of her, to be honest, but.
Oh yeah. I didn't dislike her part of the story, but it did. You're right. I didn't feel like it had anything to do with the other part.
Yeah. And I kept waiting to figure out how they were going to tie it in.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't, other than,
that one scene.
Yeah.
And the metaphor at the end about, the tree with the rings and whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought about this one a lot.
Yeah.
From a writer's perspective. And I think anytime you have another point of view or timeline or whatever it is, somehow those separate arcs need to intersect and change the other arc. So if you look at Mathina's story, if you had taken that story out, the story arc of Hazel and the convicts would not change at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it didn't work, because really at some point they should have intersected and caused some sort of change to either one. And so that if you removed either story from the other, they couldn't stand separately anymore. And they just weren't intertwined like that. I don't know if I explained that very well.
Yeah, you explained beautifully.
No, that makes absolute sense. Yeah.
So for me, I mean, and it actually kind of hurts me to say that, because I absolutely believe that these stories need to be told. And so I understand the author wanting to make sure that when she talks about colonialism in Australia, it's not just the convicts being sent over, but what happens to the Aboriginal Australians,
yep.
You know, in this colony. And so it's super important that, you know, we hear the story. I just thought that it really there should have been more intersectionality with it, I guess, is my
and it's a shame, because it really is a riveting story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the story had me gripped. It just didn't
absolutely
work with the other story. It didn't intertwine with the story.
It was like its own separate story, and they just had a few scenes together where they talked.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and so I'm not sure. I think she could have gone without it, but I get why she did it.
Right.
Because and you mentioned Googling. That is the first thing I Googled after reading that author's note, was to find out more about her.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love it when that happens.
Oh yeah, no, it depressed me. The poor thing.
I have to go back and read the author's note in the book. I haven't done that yet, so.
That was what made me think. I think that some of these other characters are real people too, or based on real people.
I love it when characters are, well, we've had this conversation ad nauseum, but I love it when characters are inspired by other people and not necessarily, you know, based on other people. You have a kitty, Barb.
This is Minion. He's never met a podcast or videocast he doesn't want to join.
It's your Zoom mascot, or, you know.
He's here every week. He'll walk past again.
I know it kind of seems like we are beating up on the book a little bit, which is a little unfair, because I mean, I really did love it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just have some strong feelings about certain sections. But one of the things I really liked was how she explored the concept of justice throughout the entire novel. And so before I give my opinion on justice, and Barb's going to be like, what? I would love to hear from you guys about what you think of how justice is meted out either to the characters or by the characters. Sarah, go.
Oh, God. I feel like I'm doing an essay now for university.
Sorry, no. It's all very loose and fun.
So one of our readers just said that she really liked Orphan Train better and Piece of the World better. So those are so now maybe I will read an Orphan Train.
Oh my God, my TBR grows every time we have one of these broadcasts.
No, I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, like the whole justice. Okay, so what Evangeline was convicted for was attempted murder, which is not cool. But the ship and then 14 years seems a little heavy-handed. Like, what point were they trying to prove? And then with Hazel, she stole the spoon.
Stole a spoon.
Like, and then she was going to get transport plus 7 years?
7 years to Australia, yeah.
Yeah. It just seemed a little much. I don't know. I don't know. And then for themselves, like there's certain parts of the book, like the end of the story, like you said, the climax with what happens. Is it justice for? I like the way it was handled. I'm not very good at explaining myself. It's been a long day.
Well,
But
and you're also trying not to give any
And try not to spoil it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I thought it was very interesting to think about, and glad that things have changed considerably since then.
I found myself very angry at not the justice, but the opposite, the injustice. I felt that what I learned was if you were poor, it sucked. If you were female and poor, it double sucked. And if you were Black female and poor, forget it.
Yeah.
The Jews had absolutely no voice whatsoever. And there was no justice for you, really.
Right.
You were up against this giant machine for things like, I have no food or water, so I stole a spoon. Oh, well, guess what? You get 7 years. And that's what I got at. I was very angry at how these women were being treated.
Yep.
And
which I think is probably the point.
Yeah, it was.
You
I think it
angry.
was.
You should be angry. Did you find
it made me realize just how horrible they treated these people.
Did you find it depressing?
It was not a happy book.
See, I didn't find it depressing. I found it heavy. But I always
Better word for it.
I was thinking about this after, because I remember, Barb, when you and Renee and I had talked, we were talking about how it was a bit depressing, and I was expecting to be really down as I was reading it, and I wasn't. I kept flipping, and then I kept thinking, somehow, even though there's all this injustice, there's still this little thread of hope that always seems to be threaded through, and I think that's what kept it from being depressing for me.
Yeah.
And just heavy. And it certainly isn't a light book. Barb had said that the climax toward the end, I'm assuming this is the scene you're talking about, you felt it made sense, but it felt a little contrived. I actually loved that. It's like,
I will confess I think it's one of my pet peeves in books, because it happens a lot.
I guess, but I think it suited the character and her particular skill set,
and it fit the theme.
Yes, absolutely.
It definitely served the theme.
Yeah, and I felt it, and it wasn't out of the blue, because that element had been mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So we knew what it was. And then, oh my God, it's like vague booking on Facebook. Everyone probably hates this by now. But I did feel like it served her particular skill set and her character. So I was actually really okay with that.
What did you think, Sarah?
I can see both. I mean, I liked it. It was actually the epilogue that kind of made me sit here and roll my eyes, to be honest. Like, yeah, it did just a little bit, but
No, you know what?
No spoilers, but
no, but I will agree in that I was thinking to myself, I would have ended it at the last chapter and not jumped ahead. And I said, it would have been perfect to end there, but she wanted to, I think.
I understand why she did that, but no, for the climax of the book itself, like, I understand why she chose to do that, and it made sense. But it just felt, I don't know, like the fact that he was in Solid and he escaped, and sorry, spoilers, my apologies, but you know what I mean, like, and then got there, I don't know. It seemed like a lot kind of had to come together to make that scene. Yeah.
For the viewers who don't know, let's just say she takes some very common tropes and some common things that you see in books, but because of her skill level, she pulled it into something that was much bigger. If it had been, again, it was one of those things where if it had been a lesser writer, we would have been rolling our eyes going, oh my God, I can't believe this happened.
Right.
But it made sense for her, and because she laid all the groundwork. So
yes.
Right. See, it was,
she didn't waste a word. I will say that. I don't think she wasted a single word in this book.
And I again, it was just one section of the groundwork that I had difficulty with, but not the actual result of it. So
yeah,
That's why we all have different opinions.
All right, favorite scene. Sarah, did you have one?
Oh, a favorite scene. Trying to think now. Oh my gosh. I not I'd have to think about it for a sec, because there were so many. There were so many like things that weren't necessarily great and spectacular. I think really, I don't know if it was a scene, but where Evangeline is teaching Hazel how to read and how to, I just thought that was just so wonderful. Like, here she is with this amazing skill set coming from being a governess to helping this poor, very young, like Hazel was very young, to helping her and kind of being like a big sister or a mother or a governess figure to her. And I really like that.
Yeah, because Hazel was only 16 when they set sail and 17 when they landed, I think.
Yeah. She was just young.
Yeah.
It's that thread of hope that you were saying, that we're stuck here, but let me give you a skill that's going to help you later.
And it did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The bonds that these women had was just, the way she portrayed that was great. How about you, Donna? Favorite scene?
The end.
Mine too.
But like, even though Barb, I know you'd say it's like a familiar trope and it's been used.
No, I love that scene.
But I absolutely loved that. I mean, to me, that was, I loved the scene.
She took the book full circle. The have-nots suddenly were the power had gone to the young, the new, the brave, and the people who are at the top of the world at the beginning of the book. It's like,
and that's
jaded, and you could see the change in the new world. I love that scene.
Yeah, that's justice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my favorite scene. Was that your favorite scene?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't think we'd have the same one. So I didn't even think about the one where she was teaching her either, but there were some really lovely moments. I think too when they're on the boat and Hazel offers to hide the handkerchief, the monogrammed handkerchief, like you could just see that there was a bond that was really forming. Mm-hmm. And that was a kind of a sweet moment. So
yeah.
And I pretty much loved all the scenes with Olive.
Agreed.
There's a secondary character that's rough around the edges.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Unrepentant convict.
Yeah.
Commits more crimes during it. She's
and
and you know what?
Jacks up
unapologetically,
and I loved her. I was like, you belong in Australia. Don't rule some things,
that's right.
And you know what? I loved Dr. Dunn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought he was just a really and I guess the thing, going back to justice for a minute, and I kind of forgot that I wanted to mention this, but sometimes justice looked like breaking the law, and not like there was injustice for people who had broken the law in this disproportionate penalty for it. And then you meet Dr. Dunn, who decides to go ahead and break the law, really, but because it's the right thing. And so, moral justice rather than legal justice.
They've had 2 cats and a spouse.
Are you sending a text now?
Apologies. We ordered my husband dinner and it has not arrived. And they're asking me about it.
I just said we had 2 cats and a spouse interrupt. Actually, my husband interrupted to tell me he was going to bed at 7:45.
Mine is upstairs playing video games. That's what he does after about 8 o'clock at night for 2 hours. He and his brothers hook up and play video games together. They're all spread out. All parts of Canada, so they that's what they do. It's actually kind of cute. They've been doing it for years. All right, are you good?
No, I have to try and see what I can do to fix this.
All right. We are actually almost done.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've got a few minutes.
Okay.
All right.
So overall, would we recommend the book?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. I've already got my mom reading it.
Yeah, I think I would as well.
Yeah, I would too, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend her to other people and say, you know, try it. It's not a weekend like, oh, I'm going to curl up, have a beach. It's not a beach read.
No.
It is definitely a denser, heavier book, but it is so well written.
All right. So I agree. I would also recommend it without reservation. I have a couple quick questions.
Of course.
First of all, Easter's coming up. Now's the light part of the show. And that means chocolate. So tonight's question is, are you a milk, dark, or white chocolate lover?
Oh, milk chocolate all the way. Oh, actually, milk chocolate or white chocolate, which I know isn't real chocolate, but whatever.
Go ahead, Barb.
Jelly beans.
No.
It's my favorite part of Easter is the jelly beans.
You're banned now. I don't know if Sarah knows this, but I used to work at Lindt Chocolate.
Ooh.
So actually, white chocolate at Lindt is real chocolate because it does have cocoa mass.
And that's why it's my favorite.
I do like white chocolate, but I prefer jelly beans.
But hey, what about the dark blackberry bar that I got you?
It was very good. I don't like dark. No, I don't normally like dark chocolate, but it was very good, and I
it wasn't super dark.
I ate it faster than I should have, and
I'm a dark chocolate girl for the most part. Second question is really quick. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I am reading Pulp Friction by Julianne Lindsay, which is a cozy mystery. Which is delightful. And I am reading actually Beauty and the Baller by Ilsa Madden Mills.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like 3 chapters in, and so far it's fabulous.
It came in my my Amazon romance newsletter.
Yeah. It's a Kindle Unlimited book.
Yeah.
It's fantastic so far.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Really enjoying it.
I am reading a book by a friend of mine called Guarding Rachel by Leslie Matthews, and which is about a karate instructor and saving a little girl. So it's kind of more of the suspense line. And then I'm also reading, I keep saying it, I keep picking it up. I want to read Madam by the story of Polly Adler. It's a nonfiction book by Debbie Applegate, who was a Pulitzer Prize winner. And it's the biography of a madam during the Jazz Age.
Oh, wow.
So I finished the book last night, so I haven't really started anything new. So I'll tell you what I just read, which is The Woman at the Front by Alicia Cornwall.
Canadian author.
She's from Alberta.
Okay.
And it's World War I historical fiction. She's a doctor. I don't know how she didn't completely lose her shit, to be honest, because the way she was treated and not allowed to serve and the attitudes that she faced, I would have blown my top so many times. And she had such control. Anyway, it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. So that's what I finished last night. And then after that, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have 3 lovely new nonfictions for research for my World War I book. So, and 2 are from the library. So I'm going to delve into those pretty quick so we can, so I can get those back. And I think that's it. We need to thank Sarah for joining us. And you should make sure that you give our audience your deets so they can find you and follow you.
Yeah, I am pretty much everywhere on Instagram and YouTube as the Bookish Knitter. I almost said the Canadian Knitter, as the Bookish Knitter. And of course, the podcast is the Categorically Romance Podcast, found all over the place.
So fun. You can also catch me over there.
Of course, we have to have you back. We have to have you back.
It was so fun. And just a quick note on what's coming up on Off the Shelf. On the 26th, I'm doing a shorter Meet the Author kind of interview with Genevieve Graham, whose latest book, Bluebird, hit the shelves on April 5th. So that's coming up. On May 10th, we're planning a live broadcast from Florida with Barb and Renee and me.
Yep, we're doing weird fiction, weird history, fact or fiction.
I know. I told.
I'm going to see if how well these girls know their weird history.
I will there will be laughter and wine, and that will be my achievement for the evening, I'm sure. And then later in May, we are going to talk about Piper Hughley's book, which is by her own design.
Yep.
And that's coming, I think, the 24th of May. I think it's a little later because her book releases later in the month, I think.
Yep. It's about, yeah. Are you familiar with that book, Sarah?
No, I haven't heard of it.
It's about, it's to say just, I'm looking forward to the 10th. It's about a Black fashion designer who actually designed Jackie Kenedy's wedding gown.
Really? Oh, I'll have to check that one out for sure.
Yeah, she rose from nothing to become one of the designers to the stars. Wow. And our guest that week will be Angela Anderson, who we had on last year and is super fun.
She's super fun. She has the best hats.
She does.
Anyway,
so we're looking forward to having a lot of fun with her.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. It was lovely to have you.
We hope you come back.
Oh, anytime. Just ask.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah. And good luck getting your dinner.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see everybody soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, she bumped out.
Wow, she dipped in a hurry.
Honey, we're